Hi everyone, my name's Kendra. I'm one of the faculty counselors at Edmonds College Counseling and Resource Center. This is our YouTube channel where we've been uploading different skills or practices that you can do and try on your own at home. These are really good to do right now when we're in the middle of this pandemic, but these are also good things that you can do in the future and just in general to take care of yourselves. What I do recommend to everybody as you're watching any of these videos is just to be really kind to yourself and know that not every skill works for everybody. So something that works really well for me might not work so well for you, and that's pretty typical. So be really kind, give yourself a break, and try a lot of different skills and see what works for you so that whenever you are feeling stressed or you need to take care of yourself, you know what works for you. Today we'll be talking about something called distress tolerance, which is actually a pretty big collection of different skills. We'll be talking about two different categories that would fall under distress tolerance. The main goal of these skills, what makes them distress tolerant skills, is they are all about getting us through stressful, intense moments of crisis. So really immediate situations or experiences. These are not going to be good long-term solutions to whatever's causing you stress. It's really about getting you through the moment, getting you over the hump. What I do recommend is for doing that good long-term work, that's where counseling or talking to a trusted friend can be helpful so that you're working on whatever's contributing to the stress, as well as using the skills to help you get through the moments of really intense stress. You might notice I'll be looking down at my notes a couple times today. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything important as we run through these. So one thing as we get started is think about the last time you were in a moment of crisis or stress and think about what did you do? And was it helpful for you? Was it not so helpful? Kind of keep in mind, how do you typically react to stress so that as we talk about some of these new things, you might be able to go, oh, that's something I'm already doing, or oh, this is kind of interesting. This would be a new thing I can try. So with distress tolerance, there's a couple different categories we can talk about. We'll talk about two of those today. The first category is skills for distraction. And these are all about things that you can do to take your mind off the stressful moment. So in a nutshell, this is about redirecting your focus so that you can almost reset. So if I stop paying as much attention to the stressful thing, the stress itself is going to go down. The second category that we'll talk about today is called self-soothing. These skills can be helpful in those intense moments of crisis, but they're also really helpful just in general to help take care of ourselves, be relaxed, be calm. Another good way to think about it is if you had a really close friend or family member and they were really hurting, what would you do to help take care of them? It's all about doing that for ourselves. Okay. So we'll start with the distraction skills, and a good way to remember these is an acronym, the word ACCEPTS, ACCEPTS. So each of those different letters stands for a category of the distraction skills. So the A stands for activities. And these are different activities that you can do. So things that you can go out and engage in, different behaviors you can do, things that you can be thinking about to take your mind off of whatever's stressing you out. So some examples would be taking a walk, doing a puzzle, calling a trusted friend, surfing the internet. These are activities, things that you can engage in. The first C is contributing, and the goal of contributing is that if you are focused on helping others, putting something positive out into the world, you're less likely to be able to focus on the thing that's really worrisome or difficult for you. So some examples of this would be doing some volunteer work, maybe calling somebody and wishing them well, paying them a compliment, putting a positive message out somewhere. The second C is comparisons, and this is all about being able to take a step back. So often when we are in a moment of crisis, we are very focused on something very small, which is the crisis itself. And the idea of comparison is if we're able to step back and look at the bigger picture, think about other people who may have gone through something similar or perhaps even harder, it gives us a little bit of perspective. So some examples of comparisons would be using yourself as the example. So thinking about a time when you felt differently, whether it was better or worse, and focusing on that time instead of the present time where you're feeling that stress. Another option would be to read about or even like watch a documentary about somebody who went through some suffering and how they overcame that. That's a way to do some comparison work. The E stands for emotions, and this is all about evoking a different emotion than you're feeling in the current moment. So these don't necessarily all have to be about evoking positive emotions, although certainly that's helpful. So like reading a joke book. I don't know if joke books still exist. Looking up jokes on the internet, maybe a better example. That would be a good way to evoke a positive emotion. But let's say you're feeling very scared about a decision that you have to make. Feeling something different than fear is going to be helpful. So if you watch a really sad, dramatic movie, that's going to put you in a different emotional space. If we flip that one around, let's say you're feeling really sad about something, watching a scary movie, that's going to bring up a different emotion. So it's all about bringing up different emotion. The P is called pushing away, and this is all about being able to get some distance either physically or mentally from whatever it is that's bothering you. So if possible, when you're feeling stressed out, leave the situation physically. Get out of that space. That's, again, going to help you push that away. It's going to help you reset. If you can't leave the space physically, a good option is to leave it mentally. So think about boxing up your stress, putting it on the shelf for a while. Think about a happy place or a happy time, just using your ability to mentally push away the stress in the moment. The T stands for thoughts. This is all about using our thinking on something very specific that's not related to whatever is stressing us out, and being able to do that to take our mind off that stressful thing. So something as simple as counting to 10 or counting up by fives. It's engaging our brain enough that we are not going to be focusing on the stressful thing. Some other examples would be counting books on a bookshelf, or looking at a book cover and counting how many colors you can see. Just very easy to answer questions that are going to keep our mind focused. And then finally, the S stands for sensations. So these are using the 5 senses. We'll talk more about those as we talk about self-soothing. But the sensations, this is about using those 5 senses to distract yourself. So taking a hot or a cold shower, that's a different sensation than we're experiencing. It's going to take us out of crisis. Holding ice in your hand, listening to really loud music, those are all different sensations that you can use. So something that you can do now is, if you'd like, you can pause the video and write out some examples of different things you could do that might fit into each of these categories, and think about ones that you might want to try. The neat thing is, if you notice there's a certain category or two that you're able to come up with a lot of examples that might be helpful for you, then you know that maybe activities is a category that I really find helpful. So I need to be doing something a bit more active when I'm feeling stressed out. So that helps you come up with even more options for the activities. Alternatively, you might notice there's one that is not helpful at all for you, and you know, okay, maybe the emotion one is not helpful for me, so I'm really not going to be looking to bring up a lot of emotion for myself when I'm feeling stressed. Okay, so now we're going to get into the self-soothing skills. And like I said, these are about the 5 senses, but it's a bit of a deeper dig into those. So these are broken up into the different senses themselves, but the neat thing is you can combine all of these. You don't have to feel stuck doing one or the other. So we'll start with vision. So this is all about visual cues. So you don't have to go somewhere specific. All you have to do is just notice the things that maybe your eye or your brain hasn't been really noticing. So noticing different colors in the room, or if you're outside, noticing how the wind is blowing through the grass, how it's moving the grass. Can you notice any patterns in the ripples? Some people actually like to create a nice visual space for themselves wherever they're at. So this can be something really small where you just put some objects that you really like looking at together in a nice, pleasing way. So whenever you're stressed, you can look at those things. Hearing, this of course is about sound and paying attention to those auditory things that are helpful for us, or again, just noticing sounds around us. Even if you're in a quiet room, I bet if you stop and really pay attention, you might notice the hum of a light, or you might notice some wind or some creaking. You'd be really surprised when you stop and try to notice what sounds you can hear. Also, of course, you can pick out really pleasant sounds like a favorite song, or city sounds if you really like city, or nature sounds, things that you can listen to that are very soothing. Smell. This is all about things that we can smell that bring us peace or calmness. So a nice candle or shampoo or soap or perfume. Maybe there's a food that you like to cook that has a really good smell associated with it. Some people like to have like a spice cupboard and smell different spices in their cupboard to bring about different sensations or emotions. Taste. Of course, this one is about using taste to bring about some calm or some relaxation. So maybe making yourself a favorite food or a favorite food from childhood, chewing a piece of gum or sucking on a piece of hard candy, really noticing the flavor, doing some mindful eating. And the mindful eating, that could be a whole separate video, but that's where you're really taking the time to notice the flavors. You're really being mindful about what it's like when you bite into the food. How does it feel in your mouth? So doing some mindful eating. And then finally, touch. This is all about the physical sensation to kind of relax and soothe us or take our mind off of things. If you have a pet, you can always pet your dog, cat, bird, fish. But petting an animal is one. A soft blanket, that's a good one. Temperature, so a hot or a cold bath or shower, we've talked about that one. This could also be as simple as if there's an interesting texture or a smooth texture, running your hand along it and just noticing what does that sensation feel like. So again, you can combine all of these. So you could go on a walk, you could notice what you hear, you could notice what you see, what you're smelling. Maybe it's just rained, you're noticing how the sunlight is reflecting on the puddles, and you're hearing the birds, and you're smelling that fresh after rain smell. So be, conscious about how you can combine all of these. This would be another good time if you wanted to pause the video to start to kind of write down some options for things that might be helpful that fall into these different categories of the five senses. All right, so let's start wrapping up. What I recommend for everybody whenever you practice any new skill is doing it when you are calm and relaxed. So what can be really difficult is if we're practicing a new skill and the first time we try it is a moment of intense crisis, it's going to be a lot harder. If you've practiced the new skill a couple times when you're feeling calm and relaxed, it becomes more automatic so that the next time you are in a situation where you're feeling intense emotion or distress, it's going to be a lot easier to remember, oh, I should go light that candle that helps relax me, instead of, oh my gosh, where did I leave this paper that I had all these ideas? Which one should I try? Where are my candles at? Do I have a lighter? So just, practice it a few times before you really need it, before game time. All right. What I recommend for folks is, of course, to give these a shot. And then if you are wanting to do some work around these skills or anything else to help do some of that longer term work that these skills won't help with, connecting with a counselor is a great idea. We are still seeing clients virtually right now. We can do phone sessions or secure video sessions. So if you don't want to make an appointment with one of our counselors, go ahead and give us a call at 425-640-1358. Or you can go to our website for more information on how to make those appointments, and that website is edcc.edu/counseling. Hope everybody is staying well and you all take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.